Good evening, everyone. I'll call this meeting to order. In the spirit of truth and reconciliation, we acknowledge the town of Edson is located on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional and ancestral lands of the Nikawak, Saulteaux, Siksika, Piikani, Kainai, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and the Atikamekw Métis Nations. We honor the knowledge of this land, the elders and youth which gather here, and our ancestors who have gathered here for centuries. Can I get a motion, please, for the adoption of the July 21st, 2026 regular meeting of council agenda? Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
I move that the agenda for the July 21st, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Thank you very much. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion, please, to approve the minutes for the June 16th, 2026 regular meeting of council? Councillor Schramp?
I move that the minutes of the June 16th, 2026 regular meeting of council be adopted as presented.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns with said minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no public hearings, but we do have a couple presentations this evening. First up, I would like to welcome the Honorable Martin Long, MLA for West Yellowhead and Minister of Infrastructure. Come on up, Minister.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. Just wanted to provide a very brief update. I hope that's okay if I'm very brief this evening. One thing I would like, I know that I get questioned about it on a regular basis, and so just for council's awareness and community awareness, currently the Highway 16 paving project through the town of Edson is being advertised on the Alberta Purchasing Connection, and that will close on August 7th. And so after that, we will be more aware of the contractor in place and timelines thereof. But really excited about that we've got it ongoing right now, and looking forward to, I believe it will be over the course of 2 seasons. Or 2 years, but looking forward to that project being done, because I travel through Edson on a regular basis, just like you guys and just like community members. And I know that this corridor is a very important economic corridor for the province. So thank you for the mayor and the council's advocacy for that project, and thank you for the way that you did advocate for that project. The other thing I would like to do is bring to awareness the continued success that the town has in both applying for and getting grant funding. It seems like that it's a regular occurrence within town, so I do want to commend you for being very diligent and thoughtful in your applications. And tonight I would like to just very briefly and shyly announce that I know that the town has been awarded 3 separate grants, 2 under the Municipal Water Wastewater Partnership funding, that total between the 2 grants, $2,240,170.90. And then another one under the Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Program, and that one is valued at $1,938,370.88. So in total, those 3 grant streams will provide over $4 million to the town of Edson from the province. So again, great job. I commend you guys on your work there. From my seat as MLA, I'm now that we're not in session in the legislature, getting around the constituency as much as I can. I know that I saw most folks here at the Canada Day celebrations, and thank you for putting that on in partnership with the county. It's always a great event. Thankfully, the rain was held off this year, at least till after I left, but I know that there were a lot of smiles and a lot of happy families there. So thank you guys for celebrating our country with your community and the families that make it up. And yeah, so that's sort of my summer is not only getting around to communities like Edson and the rest of the riding, but I still have my ministerial portfolio to attend to, and one thing that I love getting into is the amount of buildings, because my portfolio is vertical infrastructure specifically. So that means that I am responsible for delivering hospital projects, health, education projects, and provincial building projects like courthouses, and buildings like the legislature fall under my portfolio. And one thing I just wanted to give a brief update on, so I know a lot of communities ask questions specifically around school projects. It's a busy time for my portfolio. We have currently 161, I believe it is, projects, school projects underway. And of those, about 40 are in active construction as we speak. And I looked it over earlier today. 11 of those projects will be completed by this upcoming January. And then a further 17 will be completed by the end of 2027. So that's just one of the responsibilities I have in my ministerial portfolio. It is one of the busier aspects of my portfolio, I can assure you. And going around the province, meeting with stakeholders and construction companies, trying to show them that Alberta is the best place to do business, because we need all hands on deck to meet the demand of our infrastructure portfolio for our families and for our communities. So, no, that's a brief update, but Mr. Mayor, whatever you guys wish to do next is up to you.
All right. Thank you, Minister Long, for taking the time here. And also thank you for your help in advancing our projects and always advocating on our behalf. You're one of the MLAs and ministers that does a lot behind the scenes that people don't often see. So we appreciate that. And especially on Highway 16, I know we've had many, many conversations. So with that, I know we have a busy agenda tonight. Council, do we have any questions for Minister Long? He just wanted to deliver some good news to us with over $4 million worth of grant funding, which we really do appreciate. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. We will take a recess here in a couple minutes after our next presentation and do a quick photo. So thank you. All right. Up next, I'd like to welcome Staff Sergeant Christian Delisle. So welcome, Christian. Thank you for taking the time to be here this evening. We wanted to take a moment to recognize your contributions to the town of Edson. For those that are not aware, Staff Sergeant Delisle has been our Chief of Police for the last 5 years here in the town of Edson. And 6 years, see? That's how fast time flies. Just over a week ago, he retired from the RCMP after 26 years of dedicated service. Since arriving in Edson, Staff Sergeant Delisle has put the community first, making sure community's priorities and concerns were heard and actioned. He was a collaborator working with many organizations in the community to ensure that the crime in our community was addressed. And the last 5 years has not been without challenges. However, at every turn, Staff Sergeant Delisle provided leadership and often would be seen doing patrols himself to ensure the needs of Edson were met. In fact, over his time leading the Edson RCMP detachment, criminal code offenses are down by approximately 23% within town, an accomplishment that he should be very proud of. So on behalf of the residents of Edson and Edson Town Council, I'd like to share our extreme gratitude for your service to our community and wish you well in your retirement. So thank you very much. And what does the future hold, Staff Sergeant Delisle?
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on.
I don't know. It's been a week of retirement, so, taking it day by day, but thank you. Sorry.
Well, we do appreciate everything that you've done for us over the last 6 years, and I'm sure we'll see you out and about in the community.
Yeah.
So
It was nice to work in Edson. Make a long story short, in Regina and Depot, a retired NYPD, New York Police Department general, came to me and introduced himself and basically said, sorry. As a police officer, just put your shoulder to the wheel and push. And I did that my whole career. Came to Edson and everybody was pushing with me. It was nice. So thank you. The town, the community, the groups that I work with. I'm leaving. Sorry, I'm leaving on such a positive note, and really appreciate everything that the community did. And I don't want to forget all the men and women, support staff, guards, victim services, everybody worked with me at the RCMP. The last 6 years were great. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant Delisle. All right. With that, we're going to take a brief recess, and we'll do a quick presentation to Staff Sergeant Delisle. All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on with the agenda. Next up, reading of bylaws. Civic Center relocation, presented by our Chief Administrative Officer, Christine Beveridge. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight, I have the opportunity to present a recommendation regarding the future of the town's Civic Center and long-term sustainability of municipal service delivery in Edson. The current facility has served this community for over nearly 70 years. It's been a central part of local government and community life throughout that time. Administration has identified an opportunity that warrants Council's consideration as a part of its responsibility to manage municipal assets, along with plan for the community's needs. Significant capital investment is required regardless of the path chosen. An opportunity exists to relocate into an existing downtown building at a substantially lower cost than renovation or new construction. Today's report outlines the rationale for the proposed relocation, the funding strategy, the required borrowing bylaw process, along with future considerations for the existing Civic Center property. Tonight, administration seeks Council's direction to proceed. An independent engineering assessment completed in 2024 found that the building requires significant investment to remain operational, with nearly $1 million in maintenance needs expected over the next 5 years and close to $1.68 million over the next 20, just to maintain what exists. A facility condition rating index of poor on the 5-year outlook, deteriorating to critical over the 20-year horizon if life cycle work is deferred. No fire alarm, no sprinkler system, anticipated asbestos abatement, marginal architectural and mechanical conditions overall were identified. The building is generally not barrier-free compliant. This includes parking, entrances, interior circulation, and washrooms. And bringing it to a modern accessibility standard would require a major expenditure in order to elongate the use of this building that, as per the report, has roughly 16 years left in its lifespan. Key drivers for relocation: facility design, limited and ineffective space for employees, doubling up in offices, lack of privacy with limited soundproofing, lack of professional meeting space, and limited space of meeting rooms. Accessibility. Significant concerns with the current Civic Center is accessibility issues. Deficiencies have been identified: parking access, building entry, interior circulation, wayfinding, and washroom facilities. While upgrades could be undertaken, they would require a significant investment in a building approaching the end of its useful life. Relocation provides an opportunity to ensure residents can access municipal services independently, safely, and with dignity. That also includes our employees as well. Public participation in council meetings. Council has experienced firsthand the limitations within the council chambers. During high-interest matters, attendance has exceeded available capacity, resulting in residents gathering in the hallway, entryway, and even outside the building. Public participation is a cornerstone of local government. A relocated facility would provide appropriate seating capacity, improved accessibility, better technology integration, enhanced opportunities for community engagement. The proposed facility would better support the expectations that residents have regarding access to their local government. public engagement, and community growth. The proposed location is not only about municipal administration. An updated facility would provide improved spaces for public meetings, community engagement sessions, stakeholder meetings, and discussions with provincial and federal funding partners. These spaces support economic development, partnership opportunities, and the plans for future growth. And the last but not least, asset management. Continuing to invest in an aging, constrained asset is not fiscally responsible. Relocation to a suitable building addresses all 5 deficiencies simultaneously at a lower cost than renovation or new construction. A question administration expects is why this opportunity is being discussed now. The condition of the existing civic center is not new information. As mentioned earlier, a comprehensive facility life cycle assessment was completed in 2024 and has been accessible since that time. The condition of the current building has not been a secret. What remained confidential was with regards to the acquisition discussions. Public disclosure of the building under consideration or negotiation parameters prior to a decision could have affected the town's position. Factors that make this the right moment to act strategically rather than reactively. Unavoidable capital costs. Near-term expenditures on the existing building are unavoidable. Delay risks spending on a facility that remains functionally deficient. Reserves. The town has been proactive, building reserves and creating a strategic window to act from a position of fiscal strength. The opportunity, and this is an important one. A suitable building in the downtown core is available, addressing accessibility, operations, and public engagement at a cost far below new construction. The building selected for the proposed Civic Center relocation is located at 4937 First Ave. The building offers a practical, cost-effective solution that can accommodate current and future municipal needs while minimizing renovation requirements. Some key highlights with regards to this building. It's 27,054 square feet, commercial office space with ample space for municipal services. It holds 46 individual offices and additional 24 workspaces. It holds 2 sizable meeting rooms with opportunities for more. It's located on 1.35 acre site in a prominent downtown location with Main Street exposure. It has 93 dedicated parking stalls with additional nearby parking opportunities for residents, visitors, and staff. Originally, this building was built in 1979. Since then, there's been major renovations to this building, completed in 1995, as well as 2013, including updated HVAC systems. Due to ongoing improvements, the building has an effective age of approximately 12 years and an estimated remaining service life of 48 years. Constructed with a steel frame and durable stucco, stone, and metal exterior finishes. As I mentioned, it features modern HVAC systems, fire suppression, sprinklers, accessible design elements. It includes a large lobby and design and reception area, suitable for public-facing services. It provides a space for council chambers and actually participants that want to come in and view the democratic business that goes on in here. This also includes multiple boardrooms and meeting rooms, as mentioned. Overall, it offers a combination of private offices and open workspaces equipped with a loading dock, shipping and receiving facilities as well. It's Zone C1 retail commercial, allowing for a broad range of office and commercial uses. Moderate renovations are anticipated, helping to reduce the overall project costs and project timelines as well. Overall, this property provides a well-maintained, centrally located facility with space, infrastructure, and longevity to support municipal operations and community services for decades to come. To support a thorough and thoughtful evaluation of this recommendation, I'd like to provide you with a rationale behind it. Why renovation of the existing facility and construction of a new facility are not the recommended options. So administration carefully considered renovation of the Civic Center. However, the life cycle assessment recommends consideration of replacement due to building age, physical condition, functional limitations, and remaining lifespan. Further investments would extend the life of the building, but it would not resolve the underlying limitations. It's important to note that this building also has went through multiple renovations throughout history. Significant renovations at this time would create operational disruption and as well temporary accommodation arrangements. Administration does not consider renovation to be a viable solution. Another evaluation completed was building new. Past council and administration considered construction of a new municipal office facility more than 15 years ago. At that time, the estimated project cost was approximately $8.75 million. Since then, construction costs have increased substantially. Recent municipal projects across Alberta demonstrate the significant costs associated with new civic construction. For example, Town of Ponoka approved an $11.2 million borrowing bylaw to acquire their civic center property in 2022. White Court, our neighbors to the north, the construction contract was $54.3 million, noting there's additional amenities, of course, with that facility, but more specifically, just their administration building alone was $11.7 million. While a purpose-built facility could be designed specifically for municipal operations, it would require considerable more capital investment and a much longer implementation time. Administration believes that the opportunity to acquire and renovate an existing building provides a lower cost, lower risk, reasonable, and responsible solution. The funding plan. The total project cost is estimated at $5 million. Administration is recommending a balanced funding approach. $1.5 million from reserves, $1 million from provincial grant funding, $2.5 million through a debenture. This approach ensures that the project is funded through multiple sources rather than debt alone. Council has intentionally built a reserve over time to address major facility requirements such as this. Borrowing through debentures is a common municipal financing tool that allows long-term assets to be paid for over their useful life. With regards to the debenture bylaw process, it's a legislative process required under the Municipal Government Act. The steps: first reading. Following first reading, a notice must be advertised for 2 consecutive weeks. Electors would have 15-day petition period that leads to August 18th. If no sufficient petition is received, council may proceed with the second and third readings, which would put potentially to September 1st. The bylaw then moves to the legislative waiting period before becoming valid. That the final opportunity there at the end would be October 1st if the no valid petition is received. Administration is not seeking a decision today regarding the future use of the Civic Center property. Administration believes that discussion deserves its own consideration. If the relocation proceeds, administration will return with options that may include sale of the property, demolition and redevelopment opportunities, or other alternatives identified through an additional review. This approach allows council to consider the future of the site separately with complete information in order to make a data-driven decision. It is recognized that this is a significant decision and a significant investment. However, administration believes the town is at a point where continued investment in this existing facility should be weighed against more practical long-term solution. The proposed relocation addresses accessibility, public participation, customer service, operational efficiency, and asset management objectives in a way that this current facility cannot. This opportunity represents the most fiscally responsible option available at this time, and I recommend that council proceed with the relocation initiative, direct administration to return with options for the existing Civic Center property, and give first reading to the debenture bylaw. Thank you for your attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, CO Beverage, for your presentation this evening. We will open the floor to questions and comments before we take a motion from the floor. Who would like to begin? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to CEO Beverage, thank you for the detailed presentation here. My first sort of comment then question is regards to how the building is used. Now, I participate in council chambers. This is the space that I use, but I don't work here. I can comment on the challenges within this space that we have. For anybody listening at home, the challenges within a council space that we have is certainly first, we start off with the makeup of this table. Now, typically, a council table is separated from an administration table in most council chambers. We have a U shape, and I certainly sit across from Councillor Positiony, and all great and everything. He's great to look at, I'm sure, but most councils are sort of seated towards the gallery. Now, of course, building a whole or purchasing a new building just for that, I can see is maybe not reasonable. But CL Beverage alluded to the fact, and this is the biggest concern, and that is when we have contentious issues or big public hearings, members of the public want to come down and participate in the process. And we've had a number of occasions, like even just over the last few months of this term and certainly last term, we've had many people come down, and I think of the rural renewal stream being perhaps one of the biggest ones. We have only maybe a dozen chairs in here. They were all filled up. And then after that, people have to sit in the lobby. And part of coming down and watching council make these decisions is that when we make these decisions, we have to look people in the eye when we're making these decisions. And that's a pretty, intense thing to do, right? That you have to look, sometimes people are angry or upset, but we have to make those decisions, and we should make those decisions by looking people in the eye. But if you come down here and you're sitting out in the lobby, you have to watch on a TV screen. And you're like, well, you might as well just stayed at home and watched from there. Not only that, you have to watch on about a 15-second delay when you're out in the foyer. And we've had scenarios, I think in that rural renewal stream, we had people, and CO Beverage mentioned this, people waiting outside. And at that point, then you might as well just have stayed at home. So we want to encourage that participation in terms of those big public hearings and contentious issues, that people could come down and fill our council chambers so that we kind of have to stare at you and look at you and make these difficult decisions. So I tell of that sort of personal story from a council perspective. So I'm going to turn to CO Beverage and talk about the staff that work here in this building and talk about some of the personal stories and the challenges that the staff face within this building. And you alluded to some general challenges you have, but talk about some specific stories or challenges, especially when it comes to meeting with residents and accessibility needs. So I open it up to CL Beverage to talk about some of those specific stories of challenges our staff faces.
Thank you, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor and all of council. So I think that some of the impactful stories of sensitive situations wherein we operate a cemetery. And that's a great example of wherein currently, when residents are coming in to deal with buying a plot and dealing with, fairly sensitive, time in their life, we don't actually have a space for the individuals to actually meet with people with our administration. And so it's done in a really awkward space as far as in the front, where other people are walking through. And this happens on a daily, sometimes a daily basis where you're walking through to get down the hallway and individuals are there, sitting in a chair. We try to make it as comfortable as possible. Our administration does a great job of that. But those are those hard things where you feel really, comfortable as a staff member, but I can't imagine what it feels like from a perspective of a resident. Another example as well is that, the ability for our economic development officer, I'll use that as one of our examples. We have that individual in the back corner in an open space that is potentially dealing with hopefully some very exciting things for our community. And we don't have a space for that individual to have those conversations on the phone, to be talking to businesses without everyone hearing. That's a common issue in this building, is that even our walls are paper thin, it feels like at times, and we've done a lot to try to mitigate that. But it's still not conducive to, sensitive discussions that potentially are not to be shared with others. HR is a great example of that. We've done a lot there, but it's still not ideal. I would say, other examples are when we're interviewing, trying to recruit and get people to work with us. When we're doing our interviews, we're in a room that's about, it fits probably 4 or 5 people comfortably-ish, maybe, but it's a really incredibly awkward space. Or we have to travel across town to to the MP's office to do our interviews there. And that's just things that we've done to help, through that opportunity to, actually have a panel, because that's often what we do, is we have more than, 2 or 3 people involved in that interview process. Those are, some of those key pieces that jump out at me as far as those stories that you're asking me. As far as impact, I think you mentioned about chambers, and it's something I don't want to be lost. You may or may not recall we had some drip, water coming down from the ceiling recently with regards to in our chambers. And actually what they did was actually funnel that to another area, so it doesn't actually come through here, but it's going somewhere else, just to be able to manage that. Our HVAC system is we put off that project just based on this potential coming forward, but we're in a situation where it's a fairly substantial project for the town to undertake for this building, but it's so inconsistent and we continuously have the contractors coming in to make this comfortable. It's either we're boiling or we're freezing. There's no in between, I would say. Staff, we can't, some windows don't open, I'm getting very granular, but it's the reality of what our teams, our employees are working in. And, I think I could go on. If you'd like me to, I can, but I think that's probably gives you a pretty good sense of, kind of those highly sensitive areas in which that, we see as a big issue and have seen as quite a big issue over time.
Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the mayor to CEO Beveridge and the rest of council, I would like to make some comments. I do want to acknowledge that our current Civic Centre has served Edson well for nearly 70 years. Supporting a relocation does not diminish that history, but rightfully recognizes that our community and municipal operations have simply outgrown what the building can reasonably provide. Staff are working in cramped spaces, as your presentation has been very thorough, and they're in constrained spaces. And as Mayor Zahara had mentioned in his public statement, that people, closets have been renovated. And I know when I toured the building or came into the building for this term, when they were speaking of an intern coming in, I did ask the question, well, where would we put that person? It's very obvious. So what stands out to me is that the question is not whether investment is required, it is where that investment will provide the greatest long-term value. Spending significant dollars to maintain the current facility still does not address its underlying accessibility, space, and functional limitations. This opportunity allows us to invest in an existing downtown building that can better serve our residents, staff, and community well into the future at considerably less cost than building new, and taking on that delayed risk of construction costs and things like that. I just wanted to mention before I ask my questions that I appreciate that the future of our existing Civic Centre will be considered respectfully and separately at a later time. After nearly 70 years of service to Edson, the building and its history deserves to be acknowledged, while allowing council to carefully consider all options and determine what ultimately makes the most sense for our community. I believe this relocation is a responsible and forward-looking investment, and I am fully supportive of moving this process forward and allowing the public process to proceed. With that, I do have two questions that are just out of due diligence. First, has a comprehensive building condition assessment been completed on the building we are proposing to acquire? And I know that's a pretty standard thing in any conveyancing deal. But are there any significant or immediate long-term capital requirements beyond what is included in the $5 million project budget? And I can add the second question if that's okay. And the funding plan, just from your presentation, I just wanted to ask, it includes $1 million in provincial grant funding. Is that funding confirmed? And I don't think from the presentation that it was noted as confirmed, but if not, what would the funding strategy be if the town does not receive the full amount of that grant? Thank you very much.
CO Beveridge?
Thank you very much. Through to Mayor Zahara, through to Councillor Wilson-Lear. So your first question was with regards to the inspection. So that is a part of the due diligence, and which we will be, that's what happens next. If this is approved and we move forward, then that report would be provided to us, and we'll go through that and see what things we need to address immediately. And the next question with regards to the grant, that is what we intend to use is the local government fiscal framework. So it's a grant that we received from the province. So it's confirmed.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor?
Through the mayor to administration, the first question probably to CO Beveridge, the second question maybe to CFO McDonald. First question is, in terms of, I know we're perhaps getting ahead of ourselves, if we proceed to go ahead and purchase this building and proceed with the transition, although the frequently asked questions on the website does address this question, and addresses lots of questions, would there be an interruption in service levels during the move? Obviously, we're transferring over 40 employees to a new space, and we do a lot of work here. So just wondering about the service level.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, at this point in time, it is fairly preliminary where we're at in the process. However, I can assure you that, just like with the YCE multiplex project, minimizing program disruption is a key focus for us, and I think we understand the importance of ensuring that we serve the public in the most effective manner. So this, that would be a value that I would have applied to this project. Essentially, that's what we would intend to do, is to, whether we do it in stages, etc., that would be something that is to be determined. That's a great question. Thank you.
And second question to CFO McDonald. Looking at the debenture amount, I think it was $2.5 million for the debenture. What would the estimated cost of the taxpayer be based on the assessed value of their property? House worth, say, $350,000 or $450,000. I know we're still so early in the process, and there's other things to consider, but just what would the average taxpayer be looking at in terms of this debenture and what they would cost the average taxpayer?
Go ahead, CFO McDonald.
Thank you. Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. It's difficult to provide a definitive tax impact as the debenture payments will form part of the overall 2027 budget process and will be considered alongside other revenue requirements such as assessment growth, grants, and operating capital budget adjustments. So if I was to take the debenture payment in isolation alone, a assessment of, in order to calculate 1% increase in the municipal mill rate, a residential property at $350,000 would pay $2 per month, and a residential property at $450,000 would pay $2.60 per month. These figures are intended just to provide a general indication, though, and will be still part of the whole budget process for 2027. You're welcome.
Thank you, CFO McDonald. Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair board to all of council, administration, and the general public listening. Not really a question, more just of a comment. this building, like I say, Councillor Wilson Lear had already said, has served this community very well for a very long time. But we've outgrown it. That's the reality. As a community, we've outgrown this facility. And I think this is just a great opportunity. And opportunities are only opportunities if you take advantage of opportunities for the community to really look at another facility for a very reasonable cost. We've seen the numbers already for building new. We've seen the numbers for renovations of this facility. And that's why I'm kind of supporting this relocation to this building and purchase. It just makes a lot of sense. It's a building that'll serve this community for a very long time moving forward with some renovations, there's no doubt, but that's already incorporated mostly into that $5 million budget. I think we would be remiss in not taking advantage of this opportunity, and that's why I really support this move. And I think thank administration for the work done in looking at the building, making sure it's going to meet our needs, which I think it will, very much so, and allowing our community to move forward in a positive way.
Thank you, Councillor Schramm. Anybody else want to make any comments? Councillor Pisichny.
Through the mayor to council. We needed one 16 years ago, so I 100% support this decision, and I can't see a more economical way of doing it. And the cost savings are I think it's a great plan, and the savings alone make it a lot more worth it. If you can just consider that 16 years ago it was going to be $8.7 million, and that building today would probably be $15 or $20 million to build that same building. So I definitely support this project and going forward with this.
Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to council, administration, and everybody watching. When we look at a relocation or purchasing a new building for a civic building or even renovating or building new, it's always controversial because it becomes like we're spending $5 million here. Well, why don't you spend $5 million on roads? Why don't you spend $5 million on more on the multiplex instead of this space? Well, as a council, we're asked to make decisions on all elements of the town, not just roads and sewers and things like that. And we must look at this space too. We heard tonight the work that has to be put into this building, that must be put in. And that's without a renovation to it. That is just to upkeep this building and make sure that it's a safe facility for our staff and our residents. So anybody who says that do nothing to this space and we can stay here, that's not an option. If we look at perhaps just staying here, we then have to put in $1 million within the next few years. We have to put in 1.68 within the next 20 years. And then we're probably looking at a massive renovation to this space. And essentially you'd be looking at probably just gutting the building and starting over again. And I want to just be clear on this. We did that to a building here in town not too long ago. We did it to the library, and that was $3.7 million. That was only just a few years ago. Now we're 100% going to be well over $5 million if we want to look at staying within this space. If we were to build new, Councillor Pisichny said it, looking just at Whitecourt, almost $12 million just on that space if we want to build new. Not to mention we have to find a space in town to do that. So looking at this option here, we are probably getting the best bang for our buck. We're getting a larger space. Yes, there will be some renovations, but there's added bonuses, and now CO Beverage has sort of announced the space that we're looking at. We're staying in the downtown core, and this council's made a commitment to two things, and that is beautification, and looking at beautification and development of our Main Street, and we're committed to doing that by taking on a space in the sort of the bottom of Main Street and building off from that. So we're investing dollars into that building, into the surrounding space to beautify that community. And the second thing this council's committed to is economic development. You put public dollars into something, private dollars are gonna follow. You put 40 plus employees down in a space down there, then there's businesses that will become a part of that community and wanna be down there, right? Close to those 40 plus employees that are now within walking distance. So I see those as certainly being benefits to going in this direction. Supportive of the motion that's proposed on our agenda and proceeding with this project. And finally, I say, if people do have questions, they can always reach out to members of council. And I encourage people to read the frequently asked questions on the website. A lot of your questions may be answered there, and that will continue to be updated even after tonight. Mayor Zahara did a video last week. I encourage you to watch that video. He releases some great information in there and some justification as to the route that we're taking. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. I guess my turn to speak now. Councillor Pisichny and I had the opportunity to be involved in the project 16 years ago, and it was disappointing that that project did not move forward at that time, and there were various reasons for that. The needs have only increased. Since that time, progressive councils and administrations have struggled with making decisions regarding this building. We've had ideas on how to beautify this space, how to maybe do some modern renovations, and it's always been, do we want to put money into a building we know that does not suit our needs anymore? And we've kicked that can down the road term after term after term. We have an incredible, and Councillor Schramm said, an incredible opportunity. The building that is located on First Avenue was vacated just over a year ago. It's undergone massive renovations. It is state of the art, if I could say, compared to this building. With the spaces, it's secure. There's safety concerns in this building, and CO Beverage mentioned we don't have sprinkler systems, no fire alarms. We've had some security incidences in the past. Behind us here is a closed off area. We had to close it off due to people just walking back there, and we had a situation here in this building, and staff are stuck. There's no way to get out the other side. Luckily, that didn't turn into something more serious. We have staff sharing offices. We have, you talk about economic development. You talk about trying to showcase your community, and you're talking to government ministers, presidents of companies. We had Midwest Pipelines in here and the TMX, and you're cramping into these embarrassing meeting spaces. And there is something to be said about what it looks like when you're coming into a building that looks like it's ready to, it's way past its best before date. And if the municipality isn't willing to invest, then why would a company invest in the community? This building is vacant. It'll be fantastic to have that building filled once again, to have our employees in the downtown, to reinvest in the downtown, and opportunities for the existing space. Council will make that decision down the road. You're not going to get a better value than what we have here today. So I do appreciate the staff for taking the time to do a thorough review of this. This was not really something that we were planning on doing, but an opportunity presented itself. And so I'm fully in support. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed we don't have more members of the public here tonight to be in part of this. But I think, seeing some of the commentary, I think most residents do realize the time has come that a decision needs to be made. So I look forward to making this process move forward. So with that, I will just have one question for administration. What type of timeline are we looking at in terms of, say, if everything goes according to plan, when would you expect the minor renovations to that building occur and anticipate starting to transition to the new location? Do you have any timelines in mind?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That is the question. Essentially, at this stage, with the information that I have at this moment, I'd be probably shooting for Q2 of 2027. That would be ideal, but that's with all the stars aligning, in which at this point in time I cannot commit to. So I will reserve my comments as far as giving you a confirmation, but that information would be coming forward to council as things progress through our due diligence, even just through the due diligence section of what we're doing with this acquisition. But that's the ideal state, what I would like to see.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Council, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. And we do have a motion that is slightly different than what's in your package, so you can read it off the screen there. Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
I move that council direct administration to proceed with the proposed Civic Center relocation project for $5 million excluding GST.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get the next motion, please? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council direct administration to return to council with a report outlining options for the future of the existing Civic Center property, including but not limited to the sale of the property in its current condition, demolition and redevelopment opportunities, and associated costs.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get the third motion, please? Councillor Pisichny.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 2340.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Up next, we have the water degas debenture presented by our Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Denise McDonald. And we will hand things over to her.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Before you is the water degas upgrade debenture bylaw. The water degas upgrade project, the existing system does meet the current requirements, but upgrades are needed for future regulatory compliance. The project itself includes the degas system enhancements for methane management, reverse osmosis treatment for fluoride reduction. The debenture financing supports the project implementation. Public notice and petition process has been completed and no valid petition has been received. The financial summary of the project itself is the total project costs are $6,105,049. And the funding sources, I've put an asterisk on there as my mathing wasn't good on this. If you will recall, when we put this forward for a first reading, the provincial grants were not confirmed at that time, and so we had to put it down to $268,000, and then we increased the reserves to manage it. So the reserves have, this establishes the base for the whole project, and the reserves are adjusted to $2,744,677. And the debenture on the table is $3,092,100. As Minister Martin supported today, the $268,000 that's on the screen before you was approved in the past, I believe in 2024, and we have received an additional $544,100 in grants for this particular project. The other 1.6 that he mentioned was for UV and desludging for the wastewater treatment plant to add up to over the $2 million that he introduced tonight. So with that, the debenture details, we have set the maximum terms to be 25 years. Maximum interest rate for estimating is at 7%. Repayment semi-annually. So based on that, we can average at our current rates right now at loans to local authorities is 4.47, and for 25 years, payments would be approximately $206,000 annually. Our current existing debt is, we have no arrears and we're well within our debt limit. Before you are the recommendations from administration that council amend bylaw number 2336 section 2.1 by replacing the reserve contribution amount of 2.5 with 274467 and give second and third reading to bylaw 2336. And I'll pass it back to the mayor for questions and council's concerns.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Council, we'll move forward to questions. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to CFO McDonald, and this question has to do with debentures, perhaps not just this one, but any debenture that we sort of do. You can look at the Civic Center as well. If we ever gain future funding, whether it's provincial grants or anything like that, can these funds be used to help pay the debenture down faster in that sort of way?
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor, thank you for the question. I have to answer it in twofold. So first of all, grants typically are received during the construction or actual part of the project. And so therefore, we usually know the grant amount before the project is actually completed. So therefore, we would just draw less funds at that time. However, if there's something like a donation or a sponsorship, like something like that, unanticipated revenue that we can apply against the project, it's not a legislative requirement, but the lending authority has established rules for stop-loss penalty. So if you were to pay off the full debenture, you can do that, but you can't make a lump sum payment on a debenture you've already drawn. And so we will be very careful on when we do the draw. Sometimes we can do multiple draws, so we can anticipate drawing, say, $1 million and then wait until further down the road and do another draw to ensure that we're drawing what we need for the community. How a stop loss penalty would work is if say you came up, we had a debenture of 2.5 million and we wanted to pay the full amount off, we can do that. But there is a penalty if, for instance, we borrowed at 4% and the rates went up to, the other way. If we borrowed at 5% and the interest rate went down to 4%, we would pay the penalty on the difference. The calculation is much more complicated in that it involves present value of future payments. However, it's a simple way to look at it, that if we did the debenture at 5 and the rates are now at 4, then Loans to Local Authority couldn't swap it to somebody else without having that payment in between. So then we would be responsible for that penalty. They call it a stop loss penalty. In the case of the reverse, where say we borrowed it at 5% and the interest went up to 6%, we don't gain from that. We just pay our future interest requirements at present value.
I want you to repeat that afterwards, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to CFO McDonald. Maybe you could just clarify for me for a little bit on the provincial grants, because you had mentioned that Minister Long's announcement tonight had some grant implications, but it's not showing on this here budget. So if there is additional grant funding, where would that fit into this scheme of funding here?
Thank you for the question through the mayor to Councillor Schramm. So the provincial grants that we receive will total, I have it written down, 812,372,000 on this project. So when we put forward this debenture, we were approved only for the 268,272. However, we had applied for more money and now have received approval on it. So that will increase, and we have the option to either reduce the reserve requirement or reduce the debenture requirement. But if we just go forward with this debenture is based on estimates and establishes the framework for us to then borrow.
Go ahead, Councillor Schramm, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just to follow up on that, and thanks for clarifying. So the provincial grant amount is going to be substantially higher. It's just a matter of determining, does it go to the reserves or does it go to the debenture, if I heard you correctly. But I guess my question is, if we're given looking at motions coming up, we're looking at third reading on the debenture bylaw, can we still modify it after that?
Thank you for the question. The debenture establishes the maximum, so we can borrow less.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Through the mayor to CFO McDonald, and this is just a clarification question for me. So if the bump from 2.3 million to about 2.74, or two right in from the reserves, that's an extra $445,000 coming out of there. I guess what reserve is that coming out of, and what balance does that believe, is any other project at risk from that bumping up?
Thank you
Or
for
maybe,
the
yeah.
question through the mayor to Councillor Wilson Lear. So I am just looking at our reserve spreadsheet right now. If you can be patient with me for a second. The reserve that is earmarked for this project is the water reserve, environmental water reserve. And there's sufficient funds to draw from that reserve, out of the capital reserve.
Does that answer your question? Yes. Okay, thank you. Council, any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, I will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Same motion that's in the agenda, right? I move that council amend bylaw number 2336, section 2.1 by replacing the reserve contribution amount of $2,500,000 with $2,744,677.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Can I get a motion for second reading, please? Councillor Wilson Lear.
I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 2336 as amended.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And motion for third reading, please. Councillor Taylor.
I move the council give third reading to bylaw number 2336 as amended.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Next up, we have our legislative officer, Carly Williams, presenting on bylaw number 2338.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So tonight, presenting on the Atiapapa Bylaw 2338. Historically, the town operated under the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy, or FOIP Act, supported by the FOIP Procedures Bylaw 1888. The province has now repealed the FOIP Act and replaced it with two new pieces of legislation, the Access to Information Act, or ATIA, and the Protection of Privacy Act, or the POPA. Under this framework, ATIA governs access to information, while POPA governs how information is collected, used, and protected. This separation provides greater clarity, with access and privacy now treated as distinct legal frameworks. While we continue to perform the same core functions, this change does introduce meaningful updates to how public bodies carry out this work, including more structured processes and stronger privacy requirements. Some of the key updates in the legislation include fees. They are now standardized through provincial regulation rather than set by municipalities individually. There are stronger privacy provisions, including mandatory breach reporting, for instance. All timelines are now measured in business days rather than calendar days. And the legislation has been modernized to reflect how information is managed today, including electronic records. Looking at bylaw 2338, this bylaw is primarily administrative in nature and ensures the town remains aligned with the new legislation. It updates references to ATIA and POPA and maintains the chief administrative officer as the head of the public body, which is consistent with our current structure. It's important to note this designation is specific to access and privacy legislation and is separate from the CAO's role under the Municipal Government Act and under CAO Bylaw 2150, where the CAO is responsible for overseeing the administration operations of the town and exercises the duties and powers of a designated officer under the MGA. Under ATIA and POPA, council must formally designate a head of the public body to carry out the statutory responsibilities directly related to ATIA and POPA. In terms of the bylaws themselves, there is minimal changes between Bylaw 1888 and Bylaw 2338. It is important to note that while the bylaw updates are minor, the legislative changes are much more significant and will change how the work is carried out in practice. Under this new legislation, one notable change relating to fees, it is set by provincial regulation, so a municipality may collect a $25 initial fee for general requests. Additional fees may only apply if the estimated processing costs exceed $150, at which point an estimate would be provided to the applicant. Personal information requests, there is no initial fee, only costs related to the reproduction of records apply. Overall, this fee model ensures consistency across municipalities as a whole. While the legislation has evolved, the core responsibilities remain the same. Public bodies will continue to process access requests and protect personal information, now with a more modern and structured framework. With that, administration does recommend that council give second and third reading to bylaw 2338. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Council, any questions? Counselor Taylor.
Through the mayor to Ms. Williams, thank you for elaborating on what the fee structure is. And although those fees are set by the province, if someone did make an ATIA request of the town, those fees are paid to the town of Edson, correct?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The fees are paid to the town of Edson, and the town of Edson would maintain those fees. So they would come directly to the town.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions? Councilor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Ms. Williams, I much preferred FOIP. It's a much better acronym. It's a lot easier to say than ATIA and POPA. So that's my only comments. Thank you.
Through to administration. So my question has to do, we have seen a lot of legislative changes in the municipal world, particularly when it came to the election. We have a whole bunch of different things that happen every single day with regulations that impact municipalities, which has led to increased costs for municipalities, increased staffing in order to deal with the requirements of the government, which is supposed to be the government of red tape reduction. So my question to administration is, with this new legislation, is this going to be more cumbersome, or is it going to be more streamlined? And I guess, but the second point to that question is, do we normally get a lot of requests under the old FOIP or now this new legislation?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I would say we are now 1 year into this new legislation. It has been more cumbersome at the get-go. There has been a lot of time contributed to understanding the new legislation and how it practically works. I wouldn't say there has been an increase in requests from the former legislation to the current legislation. We're not a municipality that sees a high volume in access requests per se, but that doesn't mean that won't change in the future. We can't predict what is going to happen in this next couple of years.
All right, thank you very much. Council, I'll take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councilor Schramm.
I move the council give second reading to bylaw number 2338.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion's carried unanimously, and motion for third reading. Councilor Taylor.
I move the council give third reading to bylaw number 2338.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Williams. Up next, our General Manager of Corporate Services, Brett Hawken, with the 2026 capital projects exceeding approved budgets. Go ahead, Mr. Hawken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. Joining me for this presentation tonight is Mr. Kitlitz, who will be talking about the tennis court project, as well as our Manager of Facilities, Mr. Meyer, for any technical questions that you may have regarding these projects. So background, we finished the procurement for our large projects this year, and several of them came over budget. We identified they were either driven mostly from market conditions and limited contractor participation, and as per our policy, all overages have to come back to council. So the four that exceeded budget were our Public Works HVAC mechanical job, our Fire Hall envelope project, our airport envelope and roof project, and the tennis and pickleball court project. The funding source that you are seeing on the screen right now is where the approved dollars that you see is coming from, not from the recommendations that you'll see. That will be put on a different slide later on of where we're recommending the money come from. There's a slight note for the Public Works and HVAC project, as if you look at the total capital project budget, it is $228,500. Of that amount, $106,000 is allocated to electrical repairs, which is still on track to be done in conjunction with contracted services and our new electrician that we hired this year. That's why it looks like the approved budget is only 122, even though if you look at the budget, it says 228. So that's where the other 106,000 comes from. For the tender results for facilities, above is the best values that we achieved. So as you can see from the Public Works HVAC mechanical, it came in 157% larger than our approved budget. Our fire hall envelope project was 164% above, and our airport envelope and roof was 55%. So the question, why were we so low? We will acknowledge we used our 2024 numbers from the life cycle assessment. So that was, we will own on administration that we did not account for the 2 years of inflation. However, I did the math, and if you used a 10% inflation for those 2 years, we still would have been 115% below the Public Works project, 120% below the fire hall project, and 29% below the airport envelope project. So even if we would have accounted for that inflation, we still would have been in the same spot coming and talking to council tonight. We also do have, in the motions, you can see that we are not recommending the airport envelope project, and I'll speak on that in later slides. However, we do know that if you would like to proceed with that tonight, it would need an extra $88,500, and that includes a 10% contingency. And I will pass this slide over to GM Kitlitz.
Go ahead, Mr. Kitlitz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Hawken. So just, I thought I'd give council just a little bit of details on what these two options are. The company that, the single company that did submit a tender for this provided both options. The modular tile is exactly what it is. I think it's about a 2x2 tile system we laid over the existing surface. They'll prep the existing surface by filling cracks, leveling it, and then this modular tile goes over top. It's a good product. It does have, I'll call it maybe a honeycomb. It does have holes in it, so the water will penetrate through those tiles onto the bottom surface. So I guess the potential for that surface to continue to deteriorate and have those tiles move or need to be lifted up to repair that surface exists. The plexi-paved surface is what you'll probably see in a lot of other tennis court facilities across Alberta. In fact, this company, I think they've done 11,000 plus courts across Alberta and BC. I think this plexi-pave is in Hinton, Jasper, to name a few close by, but all over Edmonton, Calgary, other municipalities all over Alberta. In this particular application, they will do the same thing. They'll prep the existing base by filling in any cracks and depressions and level it out. But then they'll apply a thin layer of a special asphalt over top of that, and then this plexi pave over top of that, which is a solid surface that I think if you looked at tennis courts around, you'd see it's quite popular. The project also includes removing the existing foundations for the netting and putting in brand new ones for that as well with new nets. So you know, there is two options, but if council did decide to proceed this year, we'd probably recommend option 2, given it's about a $16,000 increase. I think it's a better option in the long term for us. Again, we only had the one submission, and I have confirmed with the contractor that we recommend deferring, but if council did wish to proceed, the contractor has confirmed they could still complete this project in 2026.
Thank you, Mayor Sawyer. Moving on to the two projects that we are recommending we do for 2026. The Public Works HVAC mechanical project. This is our highest priority project. We have our original mechanical and systems that date back to 1978. They have far exceeded their expected service life. Replacement reduces the risk of failure, and it will continue the facility use as per the life cycle report that if we continue to maintain it, it can go up until 2060. The second priority is the fire hall envelope. With the scope, the reason this one is also much larger is the proponent that came in, it was a best value for long-term with this facility. It wasn't just fixing the current brick that we knew we had to fix. It was another addition that will extend the life cycle farther, which gives us, it's higher upfront cost, but it's lower long-term costs over the life cycle of the building. And if you have further questions on that, I'll pass it over to Mr. Meyer later on. But we know that this building has very low insulation value. We know it has terrible energy efficiency. And we also have a proposed roof replacement that was identified in the life cycle assessment as well that would tie into this project that will most likely be coming next year when we look at all of our other projects. And we also received a grant this year that did an environmental hazard assessment that gave us recommendations of the need to do the envelope and the future capital project of the roof due to having no insulation, and this would be a solution to that problem for long-term viability. When we reviewed the projects with the recommendation, we looked at operational risk, asset condition, life cycle requirements, and also available funding. So that's why we only recommended 2 of the 3 on the facility side, and we are deferring the airport envelope to potentially the 2027. It's still an important project, the airport envelope. It's just a lower operational risk, and we assessed as an administration, and we believe that it can last another year before doing the work on it. When looking at the funds for the increases for the public works and the fire hall envelope, it totals around $387,000. And as noted tonight, there was $392,000 allocated to the Civic Center that has not happened due to the potential relocation. So if we don't do the airport and we do the public works and fire hall project, it ends up basically being a wash. And we don't have to take any more out of reserves for 2027. And that was part of the analysis of the available funding of why we're recommending what we're recommending. So cons of deferring the project, potential increase next year, dollar-wise. It's same story every year. The pros, it allows us to potentially amend the scope to tackle other needs at the airport, as we know this isn't the only issue at the airport, as well as we don't have a net increase to the reserves as mentioned due to not doing the Civic Center project this year. So, the financial implications. If we were going to go with the recommended motion of doing the 2 projects, it would be an increase of $387,000. And one little good feel-good story is that we received the Fortis grant of $7,500 that would help do the fire hall envelope for windows. So, very small piece of the pie, but it's still a little piece of the pie that I wanted to mention to council. And the recommended funding source was in conjunction with our CFO and the finance team about what the best reserves were to pull from it. And this is where the recommended funding source for the increase is going to be coming from. So Public Works is the General Government Reserve, and Fire Hall is from the Protective Services Reserve. So next steps, if approved, we will proceed with the Public Works HVAC and the Fire Hall envelope project in 26. We will bring the airport roof and envelope and the tennis and pickleball court back for 2027 budget deliberations. And we will continue, ROM stands for Rough Order of Magnitude, which incorporates market info, contractor pricing trends, appropriate contingencies, getting future quoting, and looking further into project-specific considerations. So hopefully we're not back here again next year asking for another increase. And that's our plan, to try not to do that again. So this next slide is a recommendation as you've seen in the RFD. Council, if you have any questions, please let us know.
Thank you, Mr. Hawken and Mr. Kitlitz, for your presentation. Council will open the floor to questions. Surprise, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration. Going back one slide to ROM. So this program was not used in this process for this year, right? So is this a program we've purchased and we're now beginning to use? Like, how does this program work? I like, from what I read in the RFD, I like the foresight and the idea behind it. Just explaining a little bit more of what it does.
Go ahead, Mr. Hawken.
Thank you for the question. It's not a paid program of any sorts. It's a strategy in which you take to get better data from either contractors, the market, internet research. Basically, am I summing it up? So we don't pay for anything. It's just a strategy in order to get better quotes for future years.
Thank you. Council, any further questions or comments on these projects? Go ahead, Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, through administration, more to GM Kitlitz on the tennis court, pickleball. What's the assessment of the current condition? Are we fine to limp it through for one more year? And I just want to make sure that those users who are using it have a facility that's going to work effectively for them. I know pickleball is a really growing sport in our community. And the second question, part of that question is when they do this overlay, if we do approve it in the 2027 budget, what's the timing for the overlay?
Go ahead, GM Kitlitz.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of the existing condition, it's in need of a rehab for sure. I know staff did go in the spring and do some patching on the surface to make it playable. I'm not aware of a lot of feedback from the users this year. It doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I haven't heard. But it seems to be holding up fairly well. Could we get another year out of it? Probably. I mean, we're pretty much halfway through the season right now this year. There is a risk, obviously, if we retender it for next year, it could come in higher. Obviously, that's always a risk, delaying a project. And sorry, I forgot the second question. My apologies, Councillor Schramm.
Just the timing for they're going to do the refinishing. What kind of time frame are they looking at?
Well, again, through you, Mr. Mayor. So if it's a next year project, we would retender it in the spring, and it'd be dependent on what those tenders come in and what the scheduling is. But ideally, we get it done as soon as we could next year.
Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to GM Kitlitz, just spinning off what Councillor Schramm was talking about with the tennis pickleball courts. First, just the question, is this information being relayed to the user groups that this work most likely will not get done this year? And sort of second question is, we're doing this work. I like the idea of option 2. Obviously, we'll discuss that at future budget deliberations. And is there anything else that these user groups are looking at? Like, if we're going to be doing this project, and we're spending over $200,000 for another 10 or 15,000, is there anything else the user groups want to see in terms of an upgrade? So just have they been informed we're not getting the work done? Is there anything else that they would like to see completed with the project?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am not aware if we've done any engagement with the user groups in advance of this. I don't believe we have. So pending, I guess, what the city and council makes tonight, we would have to have some of that engagement. I don't think we have, to my knowledge. So,
Councillor Taylor, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Jim Kitlitz. Is it plausible or possible to, with the pickleball court, to award or accept or negotiate with them that we could approve it for next year's budget so that they could right away, as soon as spring comes, they could do it without having to go through that whole retendering process in the spring? And I guess my question is, it's along those lines, can we negotiate or talk to them and say, we've already gone to tender, we've already done our due diligence, they hold that price for next year's, so we can automatically put it in their budget and we could be their first job in the spring. I don't know if that's doable or not. It just saves a step to me, but I'm not sure if it's allowed.
yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I think we can. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to check on that. That's something we can certainly explore. I think what it would be is awarding it subject to 2027 budget approval, and then they can do it in the spring of 2027. So I'm not 100% sure, but we'll look into that option if that's what council wishes us to do.
Counselor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, I encourage that we do reach out to the user groups, please. I'm not a user. I don't play tennis or pickleball, but these user groups know what their needs are and what they want to see in this facility. I just want to make sure if we're spending this money, and we're make sure we're getting it done right. So.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I misunderstood your initial question. So the user groups were consulted before the project was tendered, so put on the budget for this year. But we haven't consulted them since the tender came out and for this. So we haven't re-engaged, but in terms of the users asking us what they wanted out there, we did do that prior to the project becoming a project.
Excellent, thank you.
Counselor Schramm.
Yeah, through the chair to administration, and this is more just for clarification for myself on the airport envelope and roof. Is that facility cost shared with Yellowhead County? And if so, are they aware that we're going to be delaying that project for a year?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so the our cost share with Yellowhead County is at 50% on capital, right? And so they have been made aware. They get a copy of our capital plan, but I'm not sure. I haven't can engage with them on the decision before council tonight.
Thank you, GM Kitlitz. I'd like to know, we haven't made a decision yet. So until council makes a decision, there is no decision. These are just recommendations at this point in time. So through to administration, I definitely support options 1 and 2. That makes a lot of sense to me. We got to get those done. They are critical. Number 3, it is a cost shared facility, and for us to just unilaterally increase the budget without consulting, I think would be problematic as well. They are our partners. It is a 50-50 cost share. So, if we do decide to defer this project, then administration will have that future discussion with their administration so we can budget appropriately for that project. I will be voting against deferring the pickleball courts. If I heard you correctly, you said in the tennis courts that the contractor is prepared to do the work this year if we do decide to move forward. Is that correct, GM Kitlitz?
Mr. Mayor, yes, I can confirm that we did reach out to the contractor and they did confirm they could still do the work this year.
Okay, thank you, GM Kitlitz. So I've been talking about this status, and I'll get on my high horse here, for 5 years. And it's deferred, it's not done. We have other priorities, and I certainly understand that. The users that I speak to the facility, they just want their courts fixed. If you haven't looked at the courts, go have a look at the courts. They are well past their prime. They are heavily used, especially with the pickleball users. We've tendered this project twice, and we've only had one company come forward. And I don't imagine there's a lot of companies that do this type of work in northern Alberta. The cost on a percentage basis is much less than the other projects. We can pull some additional funding from the revenue sharing reserve or council contingency. And we can get this project done this year. So next year they can start the season playing on new courts. It'll save us the time of having to go through retendering and reassessment and probably a 5% increase on the cost and all those sorts of things. It would be different. I would feel differently about this if the contractor said it's too late in the season, we can't get this work done. I think that we should move forward with the project. When you look at the grand scheme of things, it is a substantial increase, but dollar-wise, we're not going to have a wide swath of people coming forward, I don't think, to do this type of work unless administration can correct me on that. I've did my AI research, and these are expensive projects, a lot more expensive than I thought they would be, but we haven't invested anything in those tennis courts since they were built. So if we do defer, then I would just encourage that we operationally just continue to make sure they are maintained appropriately. But like I said, we've been talking about this for 5 years. It's never come to ended up in the budget. We have it in the budget now. We know what the cost is. I think deferring is only just going to cost us more in the long run. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to the mayor, instead of voting against the motion that's presented here, would you be willing, or have a member of council be willing to make a different motion to do the project this year and add funds from a different location?
Yeah, I would suggest revenue sharing. We do have quite a bit of funding in there. Ms. McDonald, or would you prefer council contingency if council chooses to go that route?
Thank you for the question, Mayor Zahara. The current Tennyson pickleball court rehabilitation project was budgeted to come from the revenue sharing reserve. However, the revenue sharing reserve must maintain a 5-year rolling average in it, and we are very close. And so if we are going to increase this budget, I would suggest that we pull it from the Parks Capital Reserve. While there isn't a lot of money in there, there is enough money to cover the overage here.
All right, thank you, Ms. McDonald. Councilor Wilson-Lear.
Yes, through the mayor, to the mayor and to council. My question was going to be in relation to the pickleball and tennis courts, how many times it had been deferred in the past, because I feel like I've been in meetings or was observing meetings that had happened again and again. So I agree with you that it should be completed this year or from the Parks Capital Reserve, if that's how we have to do it. Thank you.
All right, council, any further comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, I will start taking some motions, please. Go ahead, Councilor Taylor.
I move the council approve an increase of $223,000 to the 2026 capital budget for the Public Works Building, mechanical, electrical, HVAC project, bringing the total project budget to $451,500 to be funded from the General Government Capital Reserve.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Next motion, please. Councilor Wilson-Lear.
I move that council approve an increase of $164,400 to the 2026 capital budget for the Fire Hall Building Envelope Repair Project, bringing the total project budget to $250,000 to be funded from the Protective Services Capital Reserve.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Councilor Pisichny.
Yeah, sorry, just one through the mayor to GM Watkins. We're talking about envelope. We're not changing the look of the building or the exterior of the building, are we? Like, when I refer to it as the brick, like we're not taking the brick off and putting something else on, are we?
Through the mayor to Councilor Pisnichi, we are actually covering the brick with aluminum insulated cladding. Currently, there is no insulation value, or it's an R7 insulation value on that wall. That cladding does not contain any insulation value, so we would be adding on a aluminum, insulated aluminum cladding on top of that.
Go ahead, GM Hawken.
The cladding pictures that we got was very similar color to the brick, and it does not change the aesthetic of the building very much, but it's increasing the insulation value a ton, if that helps.
Councilor Pisichny.
So there's two. I guess there's block on the building and there's brick on the building. So we're talking about the brick we're going to cover. Is that correct?
Through the mayor, Councilor Pisnichi. Yes, we will be covering over top of the brick cladding because currently the brick cladding requires repointing and repair. It's becoming an issue with sealing as well as the condition of the brick. So long term, the better solution is to cover that brick with an insulating and increase the insulation value as well as maintain the current condition of the facility.
Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Would we like to call a recess for a moment? Go ahead, Councilor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council. Like, I guess maybe, like, you know, we talk about building an envelope, and I didn't anticipate we're going to drastically change the appearance of a building. That's a big change. Like, that's like you have a nice brick building, and then we're gonna put aluminum cladding on it. We should probably throw some vinyl siding on it too while we're at it. Like, I don't know, I'm gonna vote against it because I don't like the idea of it. And I guess maybe in the future when we're talking about doing building envelopes and changing the exterior or the look of the building, maybe we should have some kind of a rendering or something so we know what we're voting on. In this situation, it's frustrating because it just dawned on me, and I should have asked this before we got the motion on the table, but I'm like, envelope. And I was thinking like, well, we're maybe changing the insulation or something or doing something, but to actually change the full aesthetics of the building, that's a big change in our community. So I don't know. I'm just going to vote against it in my own principle. So.
So through to administration, if we called a brief recess, would we be able to get a copy to have a look at what we're actually talking about here? And then we can make an informed decision on whether or not we want to proceed. All right, we do have a motion on the floor. That motion will stay on the floor, but we will recess at 8:39. All right, thank you for bearing with us as we called a brief recess to get a little further information on the proposed changes to the Edson Fire Hall as part of the envelope package. So we do have some renderings here that have been supplied to council, and I will open the floor to any additional comments or questions on this matter before I take a vote. Council, any comments or questions before I call the question? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to council, it looks very industrial and Seacanish. The front looks okay, but the dark side, I don't know.
All right, any other comments or questions on this? So I'll just make a comment. It does not appear to be as bad as I thought it might look like. I actually do like the front. I think it would enhance the front a bit. You know, I do like brick on the side of the building as well, but this is no different than a lot of buildings in town. So I'm prepared to vote in favor of this. So with that, I will call the question. I'll remind everybody what the motion is on the floor, that council approve an increase of $164,400 to the 2026 capital budget for the Fire Hall Building Envelope Repair Project, bringing the total project budget to $250,000 to be funded from the Protective Services Capital Reserve. So with that, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion is carried. Can I get the next motion, please? Regarding the Edson Airport, go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council defer the airport envelope and roof repair project from the 2026 capital budget and direct administration to bring the project forward for consideration during the 2027 capital budget deliberations.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, it's more of a, with the motion is that administration could ensure that they bring us a rendering prior to budget so we can see what it's going to look like.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, or further concerns? And I do believe administration will be reaching out to our partners at Yellowwood County to inform them of this deferral. With that, I will call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. And can I get somebody to make a motion regarding the pickleball tennis court rehabilitation project? I think Ms. Williams, you'll put a motion on the screen for us. Who would like to make that motion? Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
I move the council approve an increase of $70,000 to the 2026 capital budget for the tennis and pickleball court rehabilitation project, bringing the total project budget to $220,000 to be funded from the Parks Capital Reserve.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, or concerns? Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through to mayor and maybe administration. I'm guessing that we're going with option 2 on that.
Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, through the mayor to administration. Yeah, I would be in favor of option 2. That seems to be the, for the minimum amount more, it seems to serve the community for a longer term.
Thank you. I believe that is why it's going up to $220,000 for that purpose. So, yeah, and I think the PlexiPave option is definitely the longer term solution here. So, council, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, up next we have the thank you very much everyone for that. Up next, the YCE Multiplex Sponsorship Valuation Adjustments, presented by General Manager of Community and Protective Services, Mr. Van Claveren. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, and through you to the rest of Council. I'm happy here to present the multiplex sponsorship request for decision in front of you. So we talk, of course, about the naming rights that we started at a campaign launched in the early of this year, in March 2026, and we did so with the partnership of Jordan Cleland Consulting as a professional one. I'm just looking for the next slide here. Thank you so much. The sponsorship catalog was developed using projected usage, exposure opportunities, and comparable projects. So done as a professional, let's say, means to get to our proposed and prospective sponsors. Approximately 85 prospective sponsors have been identified, so regionally, locally as well. And more than 200 engagement activities were completed, and that includes, of course, conversations, phone calls, follow-up emails, and things that have been utilized by our partner to reach out to proposed sponsors. The results to date, and we talk about, of course, now July, is that no sponsorship agreements have been finalized. Limited sponsorship uptake despite all those outreach efforts. And that's, of course, something that we have to adjust and maybe now even change our approach for that. So consistent feedback that indicates that the current valuations exceeded market expectations for the rural and regional facility. So that means basically that we had consistent feedback from those people that were reached out to of that the valuations were high and numbers did not match with the things that they can basically see as valuable for sponsorships. So the considerations on July 6, 2026, the YCE Steering Committee discussed already a strategic reduction in sponsorship valuations. So this information that in front of you, that was presented to the Steering Committee as well. The recommended reduction would better align the pricing with the valued market expectations and the capacity. To reduce initial barriers to entry potential partners, so basically in the hope that potential partners would come on board. And increase the likelihood of securing sponsorship commitments and building momentum within the campaign. Maintaining the current valuations that may result in limited sponsorship uptake and reduced revenue opportunities. So if at this moment we would not change anything and continue, there is the likelihood that we will still have a very limited uptake in sponsorships. Next steps, like I said, the YCE Steering Committee unanimously discussed this and supported unanimously the revised valuations on July 7, 2026. So both Edson Town Council and Yellowhead County Council are requested to consider the revised valuations in front of you. Subject to approval by both councils, administration will update the sponsorship catalog together, of course, with our consultant and continue active market engagement. The valuations that you have here in front of you, you see certain numbers have been reduced and they are now in the expectation of getting momentum in our sponsorship activities. I will not go over all of those evaluations, but you see a general reduction of, let's say, anywhere in the range of 10 to 25%. So the recommendation is that Council approve the revised YCE multiplex sponsorship evaluations and direct administration to update the sponsorship catalog and continue active market engagement. If there's any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Council. We'll open the floor to questions. Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to administration, well, I have two questions. First to administration, GM Van Claveren. The amounts that you listed here up on the screen, those are for operating. Essentially, the companies would donate to help offset operating costs in the future. They're not to help offset any capital. The amounts, are they for 5-year terms, 10-year terms? What was the term length to these?
GM Van Claveren.
Thank you for that question, and through Mayor Zahara, through to Council Taylor. So those numbers are the totals for uptake of a 10-year. Most of them are 10-year commitments. So you have to divide this number that you see by 10 and an annual commitment. And yes, you are right. Those are for operational and further enhancement of the project later on, not for the initial capital project that we are building right now.
Thank you. Second question. This question will go to, well, perhaps the steering committee, and I have some comments to make. So Mayor Zahara, Councilor Persisty, Councilor Wilson there. The motions that's sort of on the agenda indicates that this is a revised list that council's approved the first list. We didn't. Council's never approved this first list. That was done within the steering committee. So this is, when I opened my agenda package on Friday, this is the first time I ever saw these numbers. So, a question, I guess, I mean, to the steering committee as to why perhaps we did not see the first list the first time and why we're seeing it now. And I guess I'll start with that question because I'll say this. I didn't approve the first list. I don't think I would have ever signed off on $75,000 for the sauna. I can't get my head around that a company's going to spend $7,500 per year to put their name on the sauna. Yeah, I don't know what's happening in the sauna, but a company was going to look at it and probably want to give 15 $500 donations to different groups within town. They'd probably get better bang for their buck out of that. So anyways, the question to the steering committee is to why this wasn't brought to council earlier.
Sure, I can try to answer that question. So we were directed to proceed with a sponsorship program. So the steering committee made that determination. I don't know if the county council approved these either. So we went to market. We went through the process of having those consultations, and it was clear through those consultations in the initial round that the valuations were high based on today's market values. As was indicated in the report, the original numbers were based on previous projects that have been conducted in similar communities. So it is here now, and now you have the opportunity to make that decision, Councillor Taylor. So there you go. Go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Through the mayor to the mayor, I'll say this: if there's other, I would say certainly dollar amounts that certainly affect this project, I think they need to be brought back to council. Even you say the first round. If these numbers were approved at a steering committee earlier, and these numbers, I think it's prudent that this council be aware of that. We have 3 members of the steering committee or 3 members of council that sit on the steering committee. I think it's appropriate that they relay this message that, hey, this is the route we want to go down. Is council okay with these number of evaluations? And we can have that discussion. And I think that's the appropriate way to go. We give a lot of latitude to the members of the steering committee and the decisions that they get to make, despite the fact that perhaps we don't have a policy that guides that allows the 3 members of council the power to make decisions on the steering committee. We give that latitude to get things done. But when it comes to big big decisions, especially when it comes to this, and dollar amounts that will affect how much the taxpayer could potentially pay as to operate this facility, I think this council needs to be informed and have some decisions made on that, so.
Thanks for that, Councillor Taylor.
Your mic's off.
Appreciate those comments, Councillor Taylor, duly noted.
Yep.
You have something else you want to add?
Yep, and I'll add the next item. And this is now to administration. So this is maybe kind of the second round we've had in terms of trying to find sponsorships within our community. The first round, to GM Van Claveren, this sort of precedes your time. We tried to go out and get sponsorships to many different facilities around a community. We hired a third party to do that. After the work that was done, we only came back with one sponsorship, that was at the library. And now again, we've hired a third party to try to get sponsorships again. Looks like we're coming up empty almost yet again. So we hire these third parties, and I guess my concern is, okay, what is transpiring between the third party and these businesses in town? When I look at trying to get sponsors, and I know I'm dealing with a much different level of sponsorship when I think of the drama program that I operate, right? But it takes a long time to build a relationship with businesses so that they know you, trust you, and understand you. When a third party walks in there, I question whether those businesses know who this third party is, right? We have Mayor Zahara, Councillor Pacisti, been in our community and sat on this council a long time. Councillor Wilson Lear, known in this community. Councillor Schramm, known in this community for a very long time. Trusted individuals. They walk into that room, those businesses know them, trust them, and understand, they're having positive conversations. And I question whether the third parties are really struggling to build those connections and are finding that trust from those businesses. So just wanting some insight in terms of what is happening with these meetings and why we're sort of coming up empty. Yes, we could talk market and how much we're asking and those types of things, but I think I was just wondering if there's something more that we're missing here. Is members of council have to be present, or other people have to be present to try to build that trust? Anyways, that's my roundabout question.
We'll hand that over to CO Beverage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Councillor Taylor. In answering this question, I think I want to walk us back to why we made the decision to go with an external party. At the time when we were evaluating whether or not it was the town or the county, whether we can handle bringing forward working through sponsorship, it was felt from both municipalities that we didn't have the expertise and we didn't have the resources to address this at this time. That was consistently, we walked through that to make that decision very carefully. This project, it's no secret that this project is a monster, for the town of Edson as being the managing lead, as well as for the county as well. There's lots of pieces there that we commit to working through on this. So it was felt at that time this was an opportunity to alleviate some of the pressures on this project to go external. So that was the rationale, and at that time. Now, with regards to I'm not in the room with regards to the negotiations that occur. I'm not on the phone with individuals. We have received some feedback with regards to some interactions, and we've worked through some of that with our consultant. Through this process. I think that's all I can say at this moment in time with regards to what I'm aware of and how things have transpired to this date. I think what you have before you is an opportunity to reduce, to start at a different point when it comes to some of these valuations, to hopefully address some of our challenges when it comes to sponsorship.
Thank you. Steering committee members, do you have any other comments in regards to Councillor Taylor's comments, as he is one of 7 members of council? If anybody would like to respond. Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Through the mayor to Councillor Taylor and to administration, I'm just wondering, in relation to your comments of the third party, was there ever an announcement or, and this was probably prior to me being on the committee when things were started, but that they would be coming out to the community and this would be the company that we were using, so that maybe the bigger the fish that were looking at the new building going up, maybe we're just aware of the company that was coming out. I don't know if that would have helped, but it's just a question. Thank you.
Go ahead, CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor Wilson-Lear. So when the first catalog was introduced, it was very clearly we went out to only specific companies. So it wasn't broad. It hasn't been broadly shared with the business community. So that's in essence, it was very clear that they were working with the town of Edson, they were working with Yellowhead County. It has both Luke and the CAO of Yellowhead County's name as well as my name on it. So there is that recognition that we are a part of this and that we're working together on this. We worked very closely with the team to make sure that essence was there, that it was coming from Edson and Yellowhead County. It wasn't just some random message that was cold calling to businesses.
Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Taylor. You have to remember, I was not a huge fan of a consultant either, but you have to remember it's not just us. It's not just our council going out and knocking on a door. We're dealing with two councils, so we're putting kind of somebody in the middle of the two. It's not ideal, and I'd agree with you on that, and I understand that. But we have another municipal partner in this, so everything's got to be done as a team, and the consultant is a way that allows us to have that middle person who isn't the Yellowhead County, isn't the town of Edson. It's strictly focused on the site, so that's part of the reason behind it. The valuations, I would agree with you in some of those valuations, and we did talk about it at the start. And when we had our meetings, I mentioned that we felt they were high. The economy doesn't warrant some of the numbers, and that came back pretty quickly through the consultant as well. So I did think we brought it to council, though.
I can't recall if we did or not. Obviously, Councillor Taylor's never seen it, so I'm assuming we have not. But hey, we tried to get more money for the taxpayer, but we're very unsuccessful. So, and I would agree too. I think we did have that conversation at the steering committee, but they felt confident at the time they would be able to get those amounts, and we're not in an economic situation where people are wanting to spend money right now. So hopefully with revised evaluations, we'll have a bit more uptake. CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I can confirm it did not come to council previously.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Yes, I mean, through the mayor to all of council, and I appreciate the honesty from the steering committee coming back and with the concerns that I have, and I hear about Yellowhead County, of course, our partners in this, but they can play a role as well. I mean, they're members of the steering committee. All the members of council are known in the community as well. That again, those individuals walk into rooms and pick up the phone and make those connections are far more powerful than a third party, right? And I'm willing to go on with this third party, but at some point, if we keep coming up with nothing, then we're going to have to change course here. The less money that we collect, and if we're a year away or from opening this is going to be onto the taxpayer more. So we have to look at getting creative. And just to draw a comparison, the library when they were looking for sponsors, right? Obviously a different sort of setup in those types of things. But they raised over $300,000. Now, $100,000 of that was a grant, mind you, okay, but they managed to make those connections with businesses in our community, and they were just volunteers. So it is possible, and I just, I question what the work of the third parties are doing, and hopefully we'll begin to see some rewards, I guess, with changing the amounts, or as I would look at it, the amounts as it is, approving these amounts, and hopefully see some uptick on it.
CO Beveridge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Councillor Taylor. I think it's important to also recognize that in other municipalities that have done sponsorship catalogs and opportunities for sponsorship, it doesn't necessarily end when the building's constructed. It can continue on, and I've seen that throughout. So there's still opportunities to potentially find some other opportunities as we open, etc. So it doesn't mean that, ideally, yes, we would absolutely have loved to sell out our catalog and have everything have a name on it. Unfortunately, and we're still a year away There is still hope. And I think that what I would hear, what's being said here is we are watching this as well, and from an administrative perspective, making sure that we're making those decisions and bringing them forward for future consideration as far as other options when it comes to valuations and maybe not leaving it as long. That would be something that I'm a good takeaway for us. But that, again, that for both sides, and I think that's something we've kind of addressed as well. But there is still lots of time and to potentially put naming rights on a lot of the pieces of the facility. And it does build excitement once we start to see some generation of those occurring. Even when people start to see the building in that way, it does. Companies start to look at it differently. So that's what I wanted to mention to you.
So we're going to take Councillor Taylor. He's going to take the sauna for 20,000 over 10 years. No, your comments, Councillor Taylor, are duly noted, and our apologies for not bringing that forward to council. I don't know where the misstep that was there, but here we are now. So I do think these evaluations are certainly more in line with current market conditions. Based on the conversations I've had with a few folks. I will say, though, I have spoken about this. I'm not comfortable going out and collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars as an elected official for a project. I certainly would be more than willing to sit in meetings if that's helpful to draw that forward. But I don't think that's the role of councils. I think that, we don't have this, neither municipality had the staff to take this on. So that's where we are with this third party. With that, council will take a motion from the floor. Go ahead, Councillor Pisichny.
Yeah, I move that council approve the revised YCE multiplex sponsorship evaluations, direct administration to update the sponsorship catalog and continue active market engagement.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Council committee reports, as in your agenda. Is there anything anybody wants to highlight in their committee reports? Go ahead, Councillor Wilson-Lear.
Sorry, I'll just get to my... So I did really want to highlight on June 13th, I had the immense pleasure of being a judge for Lemonade Day on behalf of Community Futures West Yellowhead Board of Directors. I'd like to congratulate all the young entrepreneurs who took part. I was very impressed by their creativity, confidence, hard work, and business ideas. Edson had the largest number of stands in our region, so I'm told, and every stand took a big step by starting their businesses, serving customers, and bringing their ideas to life. Across the region, our young entrepreneurs should be so proud, as we are of all of them. Community Futures West Yellowhead had posted the Lemonade Day's success and reported that 8 out of 21 stands in our region have sent their business results as of June 25th, 2026. And with those reporting to that date, the total revenue across the region was $4,497.65. And other calculations are in my report, but I also wanted to note that Edson had 2 stands that reported the greatest amount of revenue for the region. Both were at upwards of $900 per stand, I'm told. This is an initiative that is anticipated every year, and I hope that young entrepreneurs begin and continue to participate in this amazing business learning experience. And again, congratulations to all that took part. I'd like to thank Community Futures West Yellowhead judges Heather Cokes and Christy Komoka, and Edson and District Chamber of Commerce Manager Kathy Arp for participating as judges with me on that day. And I know Mayor Zahara is usually there and just couldn't come that day, but it was amazing. So thank you.
If I had a family doctor, he'd be very happy that I was not drinking all that sugar. Councillor Schramm.
Yeah, I just want to touch base on, highlight one kind of a special moment. On July 9th, I participated in the sod turning of the new Wildwood Seniors Lodge. I think it's very important for not only Wildwood, but for the whole region. It's a great partnership between the province, Yellowwood County, and Evergreens Foundations to see that finally breaking ground and moving forward. So it's going to be a great addition, like I say, not only Yellowwood County and Evergreens, but to the whole region. So we're really, really excited about that project moving forward.
Important to know when we're talking about things 16 years ago, we're talking about a lodge in Yellowhead County. Is there the requisition's high, so it's really good for our partners in Yellowhead County to see an actual facility within their borders. Anybody else have anything you want to highlight? I'll just mention, just because there was some expense associated with it, you see my Calgary trip there to attend the advocacy events during the Stampede. I was really hesitant just because of the cost involved and the time involved, but it turned out to be a really important event to attend. I couldn't believe how many municipal people were there and how many ministers we were able to connect with, other organizations. We were already, based on those conversations, getting meetings set up with ministers to have more fulsome conversations. So it was a really, really good event. Yeah, it's certainly one of the biggest political events out there, which was surprising to me. We'll have to see if it's worthwhile going in the future, but I did find this year going to that for the first time to be very helpful for the municipality. So with that, I will take a motion from the floor, please. Go ahead, Councilor Wilson-Lear.
I move that council accept the July 21st, 2026 council committee reports as set out in attachments 1 to 6 for information.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. We have no information items, no notices of motion. Can I get a motion, please, to go into the closed meeting session? Go ahead, Councilor Taylor.
I move that the meeting move into a closed session pursuant to Section 29 of the Access to Information Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're just going to briefly come out of close to extend the meeting time as we still have some matters to discuss. So can I get a motion, please, to extend the meeting time past 3 hours? Councilor Taylor?
I move that council extend the meeting beyond 3 hours as set out in meeting procedures bylaw 2281.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Motion to go back into closed session, please.
I'll move us to go to closed session.
Go ahead.
I'll move that we go back into closed session pursuant to Section 29 of the Access to Information Act.
Thank you. All those in favor? Motion carried. All right, thanks for bearing with us this evening. We will have a couple motions coming out of closed session. If somebody would like to make the motions, please. Go ahead, Councillor Pasichny.
Yeah, I would move that council direct administration to proceed with the preparation of the naming rights agreement for the main lobby naming rights of the YCE multiplex as discussed in closed session.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion is carried unanimously, and we have a second motion coming out of closed. Go ahead, council. If somebody would like to make that motion, please. Councillor Taylor.
I move the council direct administration to commence negotiations with Edson and District Recycling Society to transition towards the new extended producer responsibility program.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? That motion's carried, and I'll adjourn this meeting at 10:47.